What's good with the YouTube? You already know. This is Real Talk with Flacco coming live and direct. And as you already know, we dive into sensitive issues, delicate matters regarding prison, gangs, community, recidivism, as well as addiction. And today I got a special guest, man, something a little bit different. We got a former Sureno from Florencia from Washington State, man. He's going to do a little bit of discussion about the gangs out there in Washington, a lot of misconceptions people may have. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fabulous, sir.
Okay, let the viewers know your name, where you're from, and so forth.
My name is Miguel Magana. I'm from Washington State. I grew up. I was born in Vallejo, California, in 1984. But I grew up in Washington State. They used to call me Tweaker from Florencia 364 Locos, right there on the south side of Toppenish. I grew up on Yakima, right there on 6th Street.
Okay.
People here in California, I started calling myself Clumsy because of my brother. After he died, I started calling myself Little Clumsy because he was big clumsy. So, but from Washington, yeah, Tweaker Locote from Florencia 364 Locos, X.
So let us know a little bit. How did you get involved in gangs out there and stuff out there in Washington?
To my knowledge, back in like the late 80s, early 90s, like 91, 92, right? 88, 89, somewhere around there. Somebody from Florencia named Moscow or something like that came down from LA, and they set up in Toppenish right there, which is probably like 2 hours away from Seattle, 3 hours away.
Okay.
And everybody knows Washington for Seattle and Tacoma and all that, right?
Yeah.
But nobody knows like the real, the middle of of Washington State. But the middle of Washington State is grimy. But right there in Toppenish, Moscow ended up living there and ended up recruiting the homie Pork Chop. And Pork Chop used to have nowadays he runs his own little company and he has like Rover the Car Club and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But all they had back then was Crips right there in Washington, right? And I had the homie Cosmo, which is my big homie. Cosmo, he's a big old 6 foot, whatever, been in the feds and all that, been done time in Sheridan and all that stuff, right? Blue-eyed white boy. He was a Crip. And that's what happened. Like when Moscow got there, he said, "You know what, man? There ain't gonna be no Crips here. This is what's gonna happen. You're gonna be from Florencia or you're gonna be from somewhere else." So a lot of the people went to either be in Florencia, and then one person named Hito from LBL, he started LBL, Little Valley Locotes, right there, and it was basically a neighborhood brought up right there in Sunnyside, Washington, right?
Okay.
So Hito and Cosmo were both like this. You know what I'm saying? And when Moscow came, everybody just, we're gonna be over here and we're gonna be over here.
And these are both Sureno Varios, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And they're two of the biggest neighborhoods in Washington State as we speak. They're like brother and sister neighborhoods. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you got Florencia 13 and LBL, which runs all of Washington State.
Okay.
And I'm talking about prisons, all that. They had people from, La Mano come over there and try to do something, but they was like, nah, man, we don't want none of that shit over here. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But anyway, so that happened, right? And Cosmo and Hito went their own ways, right? So Hito started bringing up LBL over there in Sunnyside, and they actually have a news broadcast from back, like, I don't know how long ago it was, but they actually have one from right there from a local news broadcasting center where they were like actually focusing on gangs back in like the early 90s, right? And they had Hito on there, and I mean, you could just see like, like damn, they look like New York bangers for real, because it was like in like the middle of winter, and Washington, it snows and it's cold as fuck, so everybody got their boots and all that shit, right? So back in the early 90s, when he was on there telling everybody like, yeah, man, we're here and we're here to stay, and it's truthful, they're still there. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna fast forward to like about 97, 98, and that's when my brother got involved, right? My brother, God rest his soul, Clumsy, that's Big Clumsy right there from Florencia. He got put on, And our house was a party house. Like we literally had everybody like always there. And you got you have a lot of neighborhoods from Washington State. Like you got VSL, which is the neighborhood out here in Santa Rosa, which is Varios Villians Locos. You got SSF, which is Southside Familia. You got 213, which is some person that came from 213, you know, from down south, and started their own little branch right there. His name was Snoop, and he started his own little branch right there. So you had the 213s, you had the OLBs, which were Bloods, but they wanted to act like Norteños, and you had the La Raza, which was XIB, which was, you know, they were real Norteños. Then you had VCV, which was Barrio Campo Vista, which was 2-1. They had their own little number. It was 2-1, and they were Norteños, you know, and their big homie was Puppet and all that. And from La Raza, their big homie was what was his name? Scrap Killer. That was his name. Or
Wow.
Scrap Dog or something like that. Yeah. He had a very derogatory name, you
Yeah.
know, towards his, you know. And
So,
then you had
when did you get involved?
me, I got involved when I was 13 years old, sir.
So,
The only reason
1996,
I did it was because what's that?
because of your brother, huh?
Yeah. I looked up to him. I looked up to him and I was like, man, I'm gonna do it. And I got put on Thanksgiving, actually, to tell you the truth. And I went in and I took all the people that put me on, and they had dinner with my family after they put me on. And yeah, that was the worst thing ever. Like just being in there with, you know, my mother saw me and she was like, "What the hell happened?" You know, I was like, "Oh, that's all good," you know. But
Yeah.
it really wasn't. But yeah, that happened, and then, you know, my mother, we got a lot closer, and we started smoking crystal meth and all that together, because she found out that I was smoking it, and she told me that she didn't want me to be smoking it, and actually, you know, smoke some bad stuff or something like that. So she's like, I'm gonna teach you how to differentiate, you know, what's bad and what's good.
And how old were you?
13,
Oh, wow, bro.
14.
Wow.
Yeah. She used to have her husband. He would leave to work, and like at 6 or 5 in the morning, and we would walk together to the store to go get some 40s. So, because I used to like to drink, you know, OE back in the days when they had the glass bottles before they did
Mhm.
the whole plastic bottle thing, right? And I used to sit there and smoke with her, you know, and she'd be like, "Hey, look, mijo, this is how you smoke a barquito." And a barquito was how you made the foil. You know what I'm saying? Back
Yeah.
then when they had that bathtub crank,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't it wasn't the
Shadow
shit that
Monster.
they got nowadays.
You see stuff.
Huh?
You see shadows like 3 days later.
but
Man, hey,
you
bro,
still,
but
hey, but you still got a 20 sack left though.
let me ask you something. I don't mean to fast forward or pry into your personal issues. How is your mom doing now?
um, she's good. You know, I don't
You don't talk to her?
I don't talk to none of my family a lot anymore. I feel like I'm more of a crush on them than I am you know,
Yeah,
so
but
I stay
brother,
away.
you were 13 years old, bro. I mean, like, that's not right to be smoking meth with your son at 13 years old, brother. I just was wondering if you guys have repaired it, if she's gotten clean, if you guys have got past that. You know what I mean? I'm sorry to
Oh,
pry into your personal
we're
things.
past that.
Huh?
No, it's past that. I
It's past.
mean, I got over it. I grew up, dude. Like
Yeah.
I you know, that was just one thing, you know, like I went through a lot of shit, man, and that one thing right there though, like I got past it, you know, I had to grow up, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
You got to man up. You can't let your past dictate your future, man. Um. So take us to gangbanging, man, out there in Washington, man. How was it? Was it?
oh my God, dude, it was lovely. And I'm sorry for saying this, I'm not trying to glorify anything, but to me, to a person who was hurting and going through like, you know, personal issues like that, it was
Yeah.
lovely, dude. Like I love retaliating on people, and it wasn't no gunfighting, nothing like that. Nah, hell no, man. We were literally going at people with hammers, axes, bricks, rocks, shit like that, because we lived out in the fucking boons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
that's where we banged at, right there in the boondocks. Man, I remember we I remember one time we were in a big old Econoline van. You know them vans that they used to have back in like the 70s and shit. You know,
Yeah.
like the Scooby Doo van where you had like the beds and all that.
Yeah.
Well, I had the homegirl, shy girl, right, and she had a van like that, and she used to cruise around with us all the time, right? And we went to Buchanan Lake, and we saw the homie Crow. Not the homie, but now he's my homie, right? He's a good person. But back then, he was an enemy, and I was only like about 15, right? But he was sitting there smoking heroin with somebody, and at Buchanan Lake, and the homie Droopy saw him. Droopy has a fake leg, and he's like, "Hey, boom, that's that leva right there." So we ended up turning around. And yeah, we hacked up his car with the axe, and I ended up fucking knocking out him and his driver, which was a supplier, like about 3 or 6 times, like 3 or 5 times with the brick. I just kept once they woke up, I just kept hitting them with the brick. Um, but yeah, that's how it was back then. You know, when I was growing up, you know, over there in Washington, you know, like here, I know it's a lot of stabbings and shootings and shit like that, but now over there, it was like, you know what, man, whatever you had access to, that was
Yeah.
what you used, you know.
Yeah.
And I was good. I, I was a pitcher for like 2 years, you know, fastball pitcher, so I knew how to throw. So like I used to do a lot of dumb shit, throwing stuff at people, and we used to we used to roll up on certain neighborhoods and just jump out and knock on the door. And when people wouldn't answer, we'd just start dumping with shotguns and shit. We used to have, you know, family vans that the homegirls used to get from their moms. And yeah, I mean, it's vicious out there, man. I mean, still to this day, they're still banging like it's the 90s out there, man. I
That's what I
mean,
heard.
and that's what people don't understand. It's like Washington, man. Yeah, I know it's a podunk town. You know, don't get me wrong, but I mean, if you go down there, man, you're gonna get the business, man. If you want to go down there and get the business, if you want to go down there and figure out what's going on, yeah, you're gonna get something handed to you, man. Like you got some youngsters out there that actually, you know, it ain't like over here no more. It ain't like, you know, all the gangs click up and nah, man. They don't even got dropout programs over there, man. You got to roll by yourself. You got to literally tell people like, hey, you know what? I ain't banging no more, homie. Oh, all right then. Well, you're gonna still, you know, just keep that S word out your mouth, keep this out your mouth, and this and that. All right. But still, though, you still, you know, you become a victim.
Yeah. So so back then, I know where Topinash is. It's kind of not that far from Yakima, right?
Oh, Yakima, dude. Don't even get me started on Yakima. That's where I grew up.
Yakima, yeah, I know.
6th Street.
Yakima,
I used to sell Mika's right there on 6th Street
yeah.
with the LVLs. Oh my God, dude. That was fucking lovely. That I used to love that shit. I used to sit there, be like, hey, Paisa, Mika. And they used to just, hey, go. All right, come on. And we used to have a tree trunk where we just take everything, bam, we go back and get the money.
Yeah.
I was only like 13, 14 years old, man. My brother used to stay out there all the time, you know, before he got killed in Mexico. You know, my brother was with the business, man. You know, he was just a calm person. But yeah, man, right there. I remember on 6th Street, I had who was it? Milkman? No, it wasn't Milkman. It was fucking. Oh, oh, Street Dog. Street Dog tried to run me over. He literally did circles around me and he literally did donuts in the middle of the street, right, trying to run us over. Man, dude, man, you're bringing up so many like vivid memories, dude. Like Washington, Yakima, 6th Street. Oh my God.
So right now you're 37 years old.
Yes, sir, I am. I'm 37 years old. I live by myself. I have my own apartment in Santa Rosa, California. I live in Sebastopol. I'm not hiding from nobody. I don't do none of that. I ain't no rat. You know,
So,
I mean,
so did you go to prison out there in Washington?
yes, I did. I went to Walla Walla.
How was that? How were the prison politics out there in Washington, man? How was it?
So right there, so I went the prison politics in Washington, right? Favoritism. That's what I'm gonna say.
Favoritism? Did you guys have like any of the, you know what I mean? Black?
No, they tried, but no.
Did you guys have any
You
type
know,
of like? Did you guys have any rules or anything or regulars?
yeah. No.
Is it written out? Like, is there like a chain of command? Like, how's that work over there?
No, they don't have it like that. When I went to prison in Washington, they didn't have it like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have it like that. All they said was like, look, homie, all we want is 113 burpees. We just want you to do the routine. That's it, and then put in work, whatever.
Okay.
I was like, all right. And I did all that. And, the prison that I went to, it was behind the wall, which is like a level 4 here, right? Or whatever, a 170 or whatever, right? I was in Walla Walla State Prison 2005, and I was behind the walls. And right there, it wasn't really like that. I mean, I put in more work when I was in county fighting my case than I did when I was in prison.
Yeah.
When I got to prison, it was more politics, like, oh, you got to do this and this and this and this. And I woke up one morning and the homie BG, right, from Brick City, from Wenatchee, told me like, hey, homie, I left something under your pillow, and I went and I looked, and it was this fucked up blade made out of a fucking 2-liter bottle that he melted down, right? And I'm like, hey, what the fuck? And the homie Sosa that was there, right, and he's from San Bernardino. He actually caught a case down there in Washington, and good people, right? He's like, hey, homie, I work in industry, so I'm gonna make you a fiberglass shank,
A real one, a real pedazo.
Yeah. And he told me straight up, like, look, homie, if you're gonna do the business, this is what you're gonna do. I'm gonna cause a scene, I'm gonna cause a distraction, and you're gonna, because every Thursday I was right there where they had the reception coming into the main prison population, right there in Walla Walla. I was right there in 7 wing, and then I was in 6 wing or 8. I don't fucking remember, but I had the reception center right there, right? So like anybody that came in, it was on a cracking, So they told me like, look, if you're gonna be here, this is what you're gonna do. Boop, 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 boop. And I'm like, all right, then let's do it, But luckily, I didn't get anybody, but I always had it in my ass.
Okay. I know you guys were going at it with Norteños, the big dogs, right?
Hey, Norteños over there, I'm gonna tell you right now, right? For every 10 Southsiders, there's like about 2 Norteños over there.
Yeah, I know. So who are you guys mainly going at it with?
Ourselves.
You guys are going at it with yourselves over there? Internal conflict, politicking, or what? Set tripping? So all the other groups, like the whites and the blacks, they were like no threats, or what?
Not in prison.
Okay.
I got checked. Hey, I got Southsider, right? I ended up moving down from the 3rd tier of Walla Walla. I was on the 3rd tier with the homie Tecato and Sosa, right? Tecato, I grew up with him. Tecato, he was from he wasn't an affiliate. He was just a Southsider. Yeah, he just represented, right? He had a big old 666 going across his neck. Good dude, right? Solid vato, but he had some shit that people said, you know what, homie? As long as you ride, you're good, but don't be doing too much of this, And he was like, all right. So I ended up moving out of that cell, and I went downstairs to the first tier, and I ended up taking some tattoo ink that was real.
Yeah.
And the homie Little Scrappy that just came from Green Hill, which is a juvenile institution in Washington State, right?
Yeah.
And he was from Florencia, from Mount Vernon. He was from PPL, Pocos Pero Locos, right? Clica.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, little homie, come on. You're good, but you ain't good. You gotta fucking, He's like, all right. And he found out that I had the ink. He ended up getting into the ink. He took it out and he, did whatever. And I got Southsided because of it. Because I gave it back to the homies, to the llavero. And he's like, hey, you put water in this shit. So they Southsided me for that. I took my ass whooping. I was like, whatever. And then that's when the little separation started coming into effect.
It said that you got Southside for it? What does that mean?
Basically, I got checked.
Okay.
And they left me literally like, they beat me like if I was a rival. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and the older homies that had been there for a while, that were from my neighborhood, they saw that and they were like, oh, what the fuck? Like, is that what they did to you? And I was like, yeah. And I went up there and I took I took it,
Yeah.
I didn't hide or nothing like that. I put a towel over my head and I walked back down to my room, and everybody's like, what the fuck, dog? Like, what happened, And I was in there with the homie Smokey from MPS, right? From from MPS, from the Tri-Cities, from right there from Pasco, right? And he's a 32-year sentence person, and I was in there with Little Scrappy, and he's a lifer. I was in there with another homie that had like 20-something years, right? And they're like, man, what the fuck? Is that how they're getting down? I'm like, yeah, homie. And he's like, all right. So I don't know what happened from that, right? I don't know what transpired, but all I know is that when they brought toilet paper, the SEALs brought toilet paper, they made me turn around and they fucking took me in, and I went to the hole. I fought the charge, and I fucking, did what I had to do. And I gave them the paperwork. I'm like, look, I didn't rat on nobody. I said that I got elbowed in fucking basketball. And I gave them the paperwork, but people were still like, mad. And I ended up in a cell with a big homie from the Bay Area, actually, that was actually a Southsider. His name was Dracula. And I'm talking about, he was like 60 or 65 years old or something like that. So he had done time like in like San Quentin and shit like that.
Yeah.
And right here in Washington, they ended up fucking blasting off his kneecaps when he was trying to run away,
Mm-hmm.
So he was right there in Walla Walla doing a life sentence. And then I met somebody else from Huérfanos. I don't know if you know Huérfanos, orphans. No. Orphans, that's it?
No.
It's a neighborhood out here in California. It's but he was one of my cellies too, and I gave him all the paperwork, and it was like, oh, you good, fool, don't even trip, but it's out here in Washington. I haven't been in prison since like I got out in 2007 from Walla Walla, right? And I came over here, and then I ended up in prison here in 2009.
Okay, so you go from Washington prison to California prison. What's the biggest difference?
I didn't like it. You guys' just politics. People were trying to test me and all that, So when I got to prison here in San Quentin, right, they were having issues with an individual named Jalapeno from Richmond, right? And it was between Jalapeno from Richmond and Pipas from San Jose, right?
Yeah.
And I guess they were having some type of discussion on the tier, and Pipas felt disrespected from what Jalapeno said. Jalapeno said, look, yo no voy a andar en la tira comadreando, basically saying like, I'm not going to be on the tier being a bitch, homie.
Right. Yeah.
Comadreando. Comadreando in Spanish, that's a bad thing to say to another man,
Mm-hmm.
And Pipas took it personal, but Pipas, instead of just handling it personally, like a real motherfucker shit, he ended up going to the llavero or to the tier porter or to the tier rep. Like, hey, look, I feel disrespected, this and this and that. And a bunch of shit happened where he got checked. And to my understanding, there's a no hands policy when it comes, people with people. You know what I mean? There's a no hands policy, and they were doing that though. They checked them like twice, like this, and they shouldn't have done that. If it was gonna be something serious, it was, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So,
and but
so you just said that you had a tier. You had this one person, the Llaveros, and then you had a tier rep too. So each tier had a rep.
Yeah, in San Quentin, yeah, they had
Like
when I was there,
like a chain of command.
yes, sir.
Okay.
And when I was there, they had I was on I think the third tier, right there in Badger, and it's when they had the whole first they had all the Northerners on the first floor and the West block. They before now, right? And when I was right there on the third tier on Badger, the tier rep was somebody from Orange County that ain't never done no time in the level 4 or nothing like that. He's only been in level 1. So that's who they had as a tier porter, just for the simple fact that he was from, down south, because they got that whole stigma that, oh, down south motherfuckers, but that happened. And then they were like, oh, well, you got to do this and this and this. And I was like, nah, I don't agree with that. Like, that doesn't seem right. Oh, well, you ain't, everybody from every county has somebody speaking for them, and I didn't have nobody speaking for me, even though I came from Sonoma County. And my my roommate or my cellie was Trigger from VSL from Santa Rosa, who just got 19 years for killing a northerner when he was 17. And he told me like, "Hey, no hagas nada, way." So like, nah, like I'm not gonna do that. And then, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, homie. I'm gonna say it right here, live on your little channel, on your channel, sir. With all respect, I got scared, and I was like, you know what, man, I'm cool. I ain't trying to do this shit. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not even from California. Like, why am I gonna fucking do something for you guys' politics? Like, nah, man. You guys don't even give me the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And so when I went the next day to the, hold up, I'm not gonna lie. I literally wrote out a sign on a paper, right? And I said, hey, I need help, right? And I know you're gonna probably look at me and be like, oh, this was a bitch. And I don't care. Anybody says that, I don't give a fuck, you know? What would you do in my situation? So I put up a paper on the because right there in Badger, they got the whole little screen, right? And then they got the bars. You know how it is in San Quentin. I don't know if you've ever been to San Quentin, but they got the whole little, you know, the mesh thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I put it right there, and the paper ended up falling and going onto the tier, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God. And it's like 2 in the morning. I'm sweating. I'm scared as fuck. And I'm like, man, what the fuck am I going to do? I'm going to fucking get stabbed. I'm going to get killed. I'm scared as fuck. They want me to do this, and I don't want to do it. And my cellie said, like, hey, homie, don't do nothing. Just chill. But I got a piece of paper out there saying, hey, help me, you know?
Yeah, that'd be nerve-wracking.
And I fished it in. I don't know how I fished it in, but I sat there.
God had your back that night, bro.
I'm sorry, sir, but I fished it in, right? And I brought it back in. The next day I went to the doctor or you know, wherever my past was. I never, like I said, you know, somebody was watching out for me. Like you said, God had my back. But the night before that, I got abducted to go to medical. And when I went to medical, that's when I told the CEO, like, hey, man, I don't want to go back to my cell, man. And I had everything wrapped around my ankle, you know, my personal shit, you know, my letters and all that. And he's like, man, can't you wait till I get off, you know, till I get off shift? He's like, because this is going to be a fucking paperwork disaster. I'm like, nah, man. I'm like, I need to go. He's like, all right. So he took me to the home in San Quentin and he gave me some fake paperwork. And he said, look, man, you got to run this thing and this and this and this and that. And everybody in the whole, like the CEOs, they tried to have me fucking try to tell on everybody. And I was like, nah, man, I can't do that. Like, you know, I'm not going to do that. But
so your boy Flacco had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're back on. I had to go outside because the kids are here. Okay, so we're back with the homeboy, man, a little clumsy. And we're going to talk about, man, where he was in San Quentin, where he made a choice to decide to no longer function as an active Sureno in the state of California. So can you hear me, brother? So,
yes, I can hear you.
So you just kind of went through all the different politics you went through, Washington, California, and you decided, you know, they wanted you to do a movida. So you're like, man, you didn't feel it was in you to have to do this. You know what I mean?
Sir. Yes, sir.
So it's 2009, right? So it's about, what, 13 years ago?
Yeah. 2009, 2010, somewhere around there.
So how hard of a decision was that, man? I mean, you know, I went through my little stage when I decided to defect from what I was a part of, man. It was a very hard time, man, for me dealing with that, man. I mean, but at the same time, it was the best choice for me. I mean, what were your thoughts at the time?
Dude, I was like, man, I'm a bitch. You know? I mean, that's coming from the heart. I was like, man, I'm a sucker. You know, I done this for this many years, and now I'm scared of this. Like, what the hell, you know? But I looked at it like, you know what, man? Like, I need to have kids. I didn't have kids, you know. I didn't have any kids, you know, when I was doing this time, you know. And then I was like, man, I gotta have kids. I gotta, you know, I need this and I need that. And I was like, man, I can't do this shit. So that's why I was like, it was real easy for me. It was easy because I was like, man, what am I fighting for? This cause ain't shit.
Yeah.
Like, really? I'm fighting for a number and a color. Like, you know, and it sucked because, the CEOs still kept pressuring me on when they talked about going to the hole and like playing the role of still being, this and that. And the only reason that an individual does that is because they scare you. They do that scare tactic, like, hey, you know what? They're gonna. What scared me was like, hey, you know what? Have you heard of getting shot with a dart? And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, them darts. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh yeah, well they sit there and they make little darts and they fucking, poke them at their fecal matter and then they just shoot them at people when when they're no good. And they put me in between two Southsiders, Maniac from 19th Street in Sanfra, and what was that dude from PSC from Petaluma? No, he wasn't from PSD. He was from La Primera. Some white boy. Damn, I forgot his name, but they put me in between them two. So like I had to sit there and I had to be on roll call. I had to act like I was on roll call and all that shit because they wanted to get all this information out of me, and I was like, man, I ain't got nothing for you guys. Like I'm not gonna do that. And it was really hard for me, dude. Like every day I would wake up when they would call my name out in the roll call, and it would just I would hate it. I'd be like, dude, this isn't me. Like, what the fuck am I doing? And then the sergeant of the what do they call it? The Kukui?
Of course, IGI.
Yeah. He came up and he's like, look, man, I'm gonna put you in SNY, but as soon as you start with your bullshit, I'm gonna put you back. He's like, but what can you tell me about these individuals? And I was like, man, I don't even know what you're talking about, dude. Like, I'm from Washington. Like, I don't know nothing. Like, I just want to get out, dude. And he's like, well, I don't believe you, but when sex offenders run, SNY. So if you fuck with them, you're gonna fucking, the whole little spiel, right? So I was like, all right. And when I went over there, I was just like, man, what the fuck? Like, it was just nasty, dude. I hated it. I hate everything about prison, but then the politics and the CEOs, man. I just got out 2020 because of COVID-19, but the CEOs at CRC, they tell you like this: look, you're gonna go in there. If you're a dropout, I'm like, yeah, all right, that's cool. So when I get in there, they're like, hey, you active? I'm like, what you talking about? What's up, man? I'm a DO. What you guys want to do? What's up? Here's my paperwork. No, fuck that. You active? You running? I'm like, nah. All right. And then the CEOs come in and like, hey, there's a person coming in right now that's active. You guys do whatever you want, but let them get into the unit, and then we'll take them out. And the CEOs tell you when there's people that are going in there that ain't gonna program and shit.
Oh, is that right?
That's what they're doing nowadays. Yes, sir. Um, and I didn't like that. And this was recent, like 2020, 2019, 2018. You know what I mean?
What prison was this? Tatchme?
CRC, sir. Norco. I got taken there on an accident, and when they found out a week later, they took me to the hole in Chino, which is right down the street from Norco.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I ended up in the suicide watch thing when I went there. But yeah, Norco does that shit, man. These level 1s and 2s, they're letting people know like, hey, look, this person's a fucking non-active. He doesn't want to program, so y'all go ahead and do what you got to do. And then when they go to the yards that are good, they say, hey, this person's a fucking dropout. Y'all got to do what you got to do. Go ahead, just let them get in.
Yeah, I've heard of that, bro. Actually, you know what I mean?
And that's what's happening nowadays, man. That's what's going on right now.
So what was your controlling case? Why did you go to prison in California, and what did you go to prison for in Washington?
In Washington, it was assault in the second degree. I beat down a norteño with the bat. A supposed norteño. He wasn't even a northerner. He was just a regular white boy. But he was just wearing red. I was like 20 something. I was drunk and somebody fucking made me put a mask on and gloves. And then when the cops pulled me over, I was like, you're never gonna find out who I am because I got a mask on, and they took it off, and I was like, you're never gonna find the handprints, I was fucking, yeah. So that's what happened. But in California, my first thing was receiving stolen property, gang enhancement. And the only reason why I didn't get a lot of time for the gang enhancement part was because I fought my own case. I actually went and I found out that they can't charge you with an enhancement when it comes to gang shit, and you're living by a school if there's no kids present or if the school isn't in session and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's how I got my 10 years dropped down to like 2.5, right? And then the actual charge was receiving stolen property, RSP, which was I was under investigation for 27 guns that were stolen, but I only got caught with 3.
Okay.
And it was a bunch of little youngsters that ended up getting 2 of them got caught up with a murder. And I ended up seeing a lot of them cats after I did the time for this shit. And a lot of them told on me. Like I had like about 3 or 4 kids telling on me that were fucking breaking into these houses and doing all this shit when they fucking stole all these guns. Because
Yeah.
I did have the 23 guns, but I only got caught with 3, and I sold a lot of them. I sold all of them, and these were
So
the
you,
little,
so you were a banger that was involved in everything, man.
yes
You know what
sir.
I'm
I,
saying?
I I had to do it.
Well, yeah, we already know how that lifestyle is, man. So you get out finally, what, 2020? You said
Yeah, I got out 2020 because of COVID.
because of COVID. Now, believe it or not, man, like, see, this is a channel about real talk and about a positive message, man. And
Yes
you
sir.
know, you got to admit, you said that there's some things that you felt kind of like, what I'm saying, worried about, man. But I think the youngsters need to hear this so they don't have to make the same choices like I made or you made, bro. What message can you give to these youngsters out there in the streets about gang banging, about what the life's really like, and about the prison politics? And I mean, speak some truth to them. Speak a message, brother.
All I gotta say is there's no friends out there when it comes to this life. You're gonna find some people that are real, but you're gonna find them in the wrong places, and that's being locked up. Because I done found my real friends when I was locked up, right? And being out here, I ain't found nobody. Not even my family's there for me right now. So all I gotta say is like, look, man, before you guys actually decide to pick up anything to go do something and put in some work, or before you guys decide to go and do whatever you guys want to do, whatever you guys feel like is gonna help you out in the long run, don't do it. Think. You gotta think, man. And that's what a lot of us ain't doing nowadays. A lot of people didn't do that back in the days, but now we have to think,
Yeah, and
right?
we got more we got more platforms to sit there and preach a positive message and hopefully reach
Yeah.
somebody, man, before they have to make those choices, man. I wish someone reached out to me when I was 18, 19. I was acting a fucking fool, man.
I think you
Yeah,
would
man.
have been a I think you would have been a great man if somebody would have reached out to you, sir. I
Yeah.
mean, all of us would have been a great man. But honestly, dude, like I love your channel, like I
We
said,
can
man.
change we can change now though, bro. I mean, that's the key that people forget, man. There's always an opportunity to be something different than what you were. I mean, look at now, man. Sureno from Washington, from Florencia, fucking Norteño from out here in the Bay Area. Who would think we'd be having this discussion, chopping it up, man, talking about, man, our past gang lifestyles and trying to help the youth and stuff like that, man. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody.
That it's very YouTube gives us a platform, and sometimes we have to tell our stories sometimes, right, in order for people to understand what it's like. I mean, the realities and the things that we've been through, and it ain't to try to glorify it. I mean, it is a part of us. It's our truth. You can never forget where you come from. You know what I'm saying? But you can change the direction of where you're going. So what are you doing now with your life?
I'm working. I work at the art house. It's a fancy motel, right? I've been all my life. I've been a laborer, but I got a good job now, and I love the people that I work with. That's why I told you on the message that I sent you. If you ever come to, Rosetown, I got the motel right there. It's a fancy motel. Um, you know, I'm talking about 5 stars. But that's where I work. That's what I do now. I've written 2 little short stories for kids for my daughters when I was in prison and all that. And
So you
I
had
mean,
kids.
huh?
You have kids now.
Yeah, I got 2 daughters, man.
Oh man,
I got one biological daughter, and I got a daughter that I've raised since she was like about ankle high.
good man, good man.
Yeah, and that's my love and my joy. And you know what? their mother and I, we ain't on good terms, but you know, those are my kids, and I love that shit, you know,
Yeah,
and
man,
that's
that's
something that
awesome,
I'm
brother.
telling you, like, I'm just trying to be a different man, you know. I'm trying to help out, and like I said, you know, I keep watching your channel, dude, and I'm happy, man, that you thank you, man. I really wanted
Appreciate
to
that.
talk.
Appreciate that, man.
Thank
I mean,
you.
I appreciate hearing your story. Is there anything else you want to touch on Washington that you feel is not talked about enough?
I guess the whole dropout scene, like there is there. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that. You know what I'm saying? Because I know who you are, and I know what you've been through, and I know, and you know, and you know the whole dropout scene over there in Washington. Like people don't know about that stuff in Washington. Like they look at that like, oh, that's, you know. But what they got to realize is like a lot of motherfuckers don't drop out just because they're bitches. A lot of motherfuckers drop out because, you know, they're just tired.
Politics, betrayal, corruption,
Yes,
disloyalty,
sir.
all the things that happen with human vices. People don't realize it, man. Like, it comes a time where people start to think, you know what, man, like, I got to think for my own self as a man, especially when you're dealing with people that you don't even fucking know. You go to a
Yes,
prison
sir.
yard, you may not know anybody, but you got to follow the directives of everybody in the yard. It's like, fucking, I don't know you, homie. Yeah, I'm supposed to trust you, and you're supposed to really have my back. It never ever happens that way, man.
Yes,
You know what
yes,
I'm
sir.
saying? And I'm not against, like I've always said this over and over again. I'm not against actives or inactives. I don't care if you're SNY or not SNY. I don't care if you're brief told or whatever anybody did. It doesn't affect me. I care about what you're doing now, and I hope everybody can succeed in trying to change their lives. I don't care what you are. I don't care if you're still active to the day you die. If you go out there and you can be an impactful person as an active gang member and help other people not make the choices you're making currently, I'm all supportive of that, man. You know what I
Amen.
mean? It's just the reality of it, man. You know, I mean, I lived that life for so long. I understand it. I was once committed to it. You know what I'm saying? I lived it. I breathed it. I ate it. That
Yes,
was me.
sir.
And I always tell people, never forget where you come from, but always go the direction in which you need to go today. Take care of you and yours. You know what I mean? And you know, your family should be always be priority. The moment you put anything before your family, it's your family you're gonna lose. You know what I'm saying? You got to put your family before everything else and yourself first, because as soon as you start to put all these other things in front of it, those are the things you're going to lose. You know, if you start putting gangs, selling drugs, criminal activities in front of your family, it's a family you're going to lose. So you always got to put those stumbling blocks in front of you, so to where you don't go back to old behaviors or old decisions. Because it's even as trying to be changed man, it doesn't mean that we're not somehow affected with influences. You know what I'm saying? And can really start to think of old ways. And I always tell people, don't let anything fester up here. The moment we start to play out old attitudes or get frustrated with how life is, we just got to deal with it and get through it, man. You know what I'm
I
saying? You know what I mean? You're doing good, man. Stay in that whole path, bro, and focus on it, man. And believe it or not, hearing your story, talk about what you've done, what you went through, and being real about it, transparent is key, because someone may need to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people I know that end up going to prison, especially with prison being watered down nowadays. They don't have it in them. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't mean that they're not rioters or anything like that. It means the whole scene is not for them. The politics, the fucking corrupt shit, the betrayal. You know what I mean? You got to have a certain type of mindset to be able to accept that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand completely, dude.
Okay, well, we're gonna close this interview. This is the homie right here from Florencia, from Washington, from Topinash, right?
Toppinish.
Toppinish, man. Man, you had a good little spill, man. I hope you guys stay tuned for the whole thing, man. Um, that's it. I'm gone.
Thank you, Flaco.